Hello and welcome back to part 2 of our user-defined function session. So far we only had one parameter in our functions, but of course functions can also have many parameters. So let's define the function power, where we calculate x to the power of y. So here in the function definition within the brackets we have the parameters x and y, and we return x to the power of y. And then we can call the function by passing the arguments 2 and 7, and we would expect 2 to the power of 7, and it's 128. And before we move on, I want to make clear the difference between parameter and argument. So many people mix those two up, and also I do this sometimes. So here in this function, x and y are parameters, so these are the names that appear in the function definition. So x and y are parameters. And here 2 and 7 are arguments or values that are passed to the functions when the function is called. So this is a slight difference, and I just want to make it clear. And if you mix it up, it's actually not so serious. So everybody understands what you mean by saying argument or parameter. And in this example here, so 2 and 7 are two positional arguments, because Python automatically assumes that 2 stands for x and 7 for y, because x is the first parameter and y is the second parameter, and consequently 2 is the argument for the first parameter and 7 the argument for the second parameter. And you can also make this more explicit, and by saying, okay, x is 2 and y is 7, and in this case 2 and 7 are so-called keyword arguments, because you explicitly say, okay, my parameter x is 2 and my parameter y is 7. So and this gives, of course, the same result. And what you can do, you can change the position of the keyword arguments. So instead of saying x is 2 and y is 7, you can also say y is 7 and x is 2. There's no problem. So there's no danger that Python could mix it up. Now what if we use a keyword argument for the parameter x and a positional argument for parameter y? So let's look what we get here. And here we get the error message, positional argument follows keyword argument. So whenever you use a mix of keyword and positional arguments, the positional arguments have to come first. So you must not start with the keyword arguments, otherwise you get an error message. But what you can do, you can pass the positional argument 2 for the parameter x, and then apply the keyword argument 7 to our parameter y. So this works. And what we can also do, we can define default values for our parameters. So we can define the function power2 with default values 2 for our parameter x and 7 for our parameter y. And then we can call our function without any arguments, so with the default values. And of course we can also call our function with new values and 2 positional arguments. So 3 for our parameter x and 2 for our parameter y. And instead of using 2 positional arguments, 3 and 2, we can also use 2 keyword arguments, x equals 3 and y equals 2. So this is more explicit and actually better to read for everyone. Now what if we only want to change parameter x? So we have by default x equals 2 and y equals 7. And if we say that, okay, x should be 3, then Python automatically assumes the default value for y. So this works, 3 to the power of 7. And if we only want to change x, we can also take a new positional argument for our parameter x. So if we only pass here the argument 3, Python automatically assumes that 3 stands for x, and we have the default value 7 for y. And this gives them the same result. Now what if we only want to change our parameter y? So if we use a positional argument for y and place it here at the beginning, Python has a problem, because Python thinks, okay, 3 stands for x, and then if we define x equals 2, then our function got multiple values for the argument x. And same as before, so if we start with the keyword argument for x equals 2 and then assume that y is 3, this also does not work. Because positional arguments here 3 for y follows the keyword argument, and this does not work. But what we can do, we can just say, okay, our y is 3, and for x we want to have our default value. That works. And we can make it more explicit by passing the 2 keyword arguments. So saying, okay, x is 2, it's the same as in the default value, and y should be 3. And in my opinion, this is definitely best practice, because everybody sees and knows at a first glance, the arguments for the parameters. X is 2 and y is 3. Alright, so now coming to a completely different topic, we can also assign a variable to our return value. So here our function power2 returns the value 8 in this case, and we can directly assign the variable set. So set should be 8. And this is correct. Alright, so this was part 2 of user-defined functions, and in the next session we will learn that a function can also return multiple values, and we will also have a look at 2 case studies. So hope to see you there. Bye.